time now for another business update here on France 24. And for that, I'm joined by Yuka Waye, who's with me here in the studio. Now, Canadian truckers are protesting against COVID-19 restrictions, have been blocking major supply routes to the US, and the movement is having a serious impact on businesses. Yuka, tell us more.
Well, Tom, angry truckers from Canada have blocked 3 major border crossings with the United States, including the Ambassador Bridge. Now, it's a vital trade link through which more than $320 million in goods are transported on an average day. Now, and that has worsened a supply crunch already caused by the pandemic. The US government has urged Canada to use federal powers to end the blockade. Catherine Viette reports.
This is the Ambassador Bridge, the busiest U.S.-Canadian border crossing and responsible for carrying 25% of trade between the two countries. It also connects the auto manufacturing centers of Windsor, Ontario, and Detroit, Michigan. Since Monday, access has been blocked by Canadian truckers protesting the government's COVID-19 restrictions, and that's now impacting the auto industry on both sides of the border. Toyota said it was forced to close 3 of its plants in Ontario for the rest of the week.
Factories Ford, Toyota, Stellantis, General Motors stop making cars, stop ordering parts. And between the employees at those plants and the employees at the auto parts manufacturers who make about 75% of those cars, so 1/4 of the employment and 3/4 of the employment, everybody has been asked to stay home.
The protests are further disrupting the supply chain, which is already under pressure from the pandemic.
A lot of auto parts will go over the bridge, have something done to them, and then they'll come back across to be finished. And this is really upsetting that whole free flow of parts. And of course, we're already short of parts due to COVID, due to the global semiconductor shortage.
The mayor of Windsor is seeking a court order to end the bridge blockade, while the governor of Michigan is warning of the dire economic impact on the state's economy if the issue is not resolved quickly.
Catherine Viette with that report. Now, moving on, Britain's economy shrank less than expected in December, despite a fresh wave of restrictions driven by the Omicron variant. According to new official data, gross domestic product GDP fell by 0.2% from the previous month, despite many people staying home and working home. Compared to the same month in 2020, GDP grew 6%. Now, if you look at the whole year, Britain's economy rebounded by a record 7.5% as it made a partial recovery from a historic recession of 9.4% in 2020. So some optimistic data there, but inflation is rising across much of the world as economies recover from the pandemic. Earlier in our programme, we asked market analyst Rehan Baisan what major central banks around the world may do in coming weeks.
So as you know, demand is rising, wages are high, commodity prices are skyrocketing, and there is still supply chain issues, shortages. So we're also keeping an eye on the potential Ukraine and Russia, hopefully not turning into a war, but tension is also affecting the commodity prices, leading to higher inflation. So seeing all these central banks around the world, except for Turkey, are talking about raising rates or have already begun raising them. So over the coming months, the narrative will be high rates and aggressive central banks. So maybe investing in things which are not directly controlled by the central banks, by the Fed, might be a good idea, like the energy.
Now, inflation is a major concern, of course, at the moment on the market. So let's take a look at the day's trading action now. A major European markets started trading on a weak note this Friday, following a sell-off on Wall Street, triggered by another worrying inflation data in the United States. If you can look at the figures, London's FTSE down by 0.5 percentage point, Paris's CAC 40 and Frankfurt down by 0.75 percentage point. Asian shares earlier were mostly lower this Friday as well, with Shanghai Composite down 0.66% and Seoul's Kospi down 0.9% nearly. Tokyo's Nikkei, though, was closed for a national holiday. And that wraps up the business news for now.
Yuka Wei, thank you very much.